Hello and welcome to the podcast that is less Kevin Schade, more Nick Voltamada. It's the big man up top.
It certainly is. Isn't it great to see a real life big man, proper big man up top, taking most of the headlines from this weekend?
He is huge.
Yes.
He's so tall.
Yeah. And you were telling me that he didn't score, what, he scored one-headed goal last season or something?
So last season he only scored 12 goals, to be fair, for Stuttgart, but only one was a header.
Yeah.
We should expect the ratios to be higher.
Yeah, you would expect 50-50, personally. Yeah, I would. But yes, Nick Voltamada, we love him here on the Big Man Up Top. How are you doing, Joe?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Ed. Quite a dull weekend of football, I think. Not the most inspiring.
Well, I thought there was definitely a few things for us to pick up on, but... very importantly, we've got a special guest today, Joe.
We do.
He's in the room with us. It's producer Anthony.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, we're very good. Or at least I am, you know.
Yeah.
Joe's
I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get there, won't we? But yes, it's great to have you on mic, Anthony, and we'll chat a little bit later about why specifically we've brought you in. I think it's not entirely down to the fact that we want to talk to you about Man United, but there's definitely a bit of that going on, you know.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun conversation, I'm sure.
Yes, it'll be fine. We shall chat about that. And what else are we going to talk about today, Joe?
We are going to talk about stubbornness.
Oh.
Is that something you experience?
Not me. No, I'm not very stubborn.
I'd agree with that. But we're going to talk about stubbornness in football, maybe stubbornness outside of football as well.
We're all prone to it.
We are.
But listen, Anthony, as you are our guest here, a special guest today, thought you could maybe do the quiz for us. You could test us both at our Bible Ballers quiz. How about that?
Do a little Bible Ballers.
Let's do it.
I think I can do that.
So, Bible Ballers, it's just a quiz about Bible Ballers. What is a Bible Baller? I hear you ask.
Yeah.
It is a footballer who shares their first name with a book in the Bible.
We will make this a thing. If we keep doing this podcast, eventually it will become
universal.
Rather than us coming up with a better name from week one, which we should have done. But, you know, it's fine. We're all fine here. But you're going to bring the question this week, aren't you, Anthony?
Yes. As always, when I come on and do a question, there's going to be something a little bit of a twist.
Oh.
It is a guess the closest, and that's as much as I'll say right now.
Oh.
But here we go with the question. Belgian double Bible baller Jean-Marc Bosman was involved in perhaps the most important transfer in football history when he tried to move from RSC Liège to Dunkirk on a free transfer at the end of his contract. The trial took 5 years, but free transfers were officially allowed in what year?
Oh, goodness.
Whoever gets closest will get 1 point. If you get it exact, you get 2 points.
Well, that's good because I'm a point down. So, and I think this is more in my wheelhouse than you,
Probably
Joe,
is.
because I'm a bit older than you.
I've always known about the Bosman.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's one of those things where I think it was later than you think. I mean, I'm definitely still in guessing territory.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a think about it, won't we?
I think so.
Yeah, so we'll come back at the end of the episode and you can give me your answers.
Okay. We're going to come on to the Premier League in a little bit, but there was some news that I think is just worth having a look at that popped up over the weekend. Firstly, USA midfielder Savannah DeMello is in a stable and alert condition after collapsing on the pitch whilst playing for Racing Louisville in the National Women's Soccer League. Obviously, like, the first thing to just sort of say is that this isn't a new thing, is it? In football, you know, players having these medical emergencies on the pitch, it's sadly becoming more and more common. And I think just, first of all, we're just absolutely delighted that she is at least stable and alert. And yeah, just glad that it could have gone a lot worse, couldn't it? Yeah,
you're right. This is becoming maybe not more of a common thing, but we're certainly hearing a lot of these incidents, and I think it's worth highlighting the efforts that the medical teams go to protect these players, and more recognition as well, and like education around how to deal with serious health issues on the pitch.
And I think it just goes without saying, hopefully it goes without saying, that all of our thoughts and prayers are with Savannah as she continues her recovery. But let's have a look at the Premier League. I'll tell you what, we'll start with your lot, Joe.
Go on then.
Liverpool scraping a 1-0 win away at Burnley. United scraped a last minute winner against Burnley not so long ago, so it's not a bad result.
It's not a bad result. It very much scraping, very much kind of saved in the last minute. This was a frustrating watch as a Liverpool fan. Classic low block. First, I think you have to give credit to Burnley to start with, of how resiliently they defended. Everyone knew what they were doing, men behind the ball, and they didn't lapse in concentration until the 94th minute.
And the penalty, I mean, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's sort of, it is so upsetting, isn't it? Because the defender is just inside, like millimetres inside, but definitely inside his penalty area.
Yeah.
The cross has come in and he's sort of stuck his arm out almost instinctively. It is a handball.
It's one of those that it is a
it's
penalty.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it?
I don't know if this is just me, but getting a penalty from the cross that isn't really going anywhere. Like, I don't think it was the best cross.
Yeah.
I never feel like it's justified to get a penalty if the cross isn't that good. I know that's not how it works.
Yeah.
But
if Ekitike was like on his own in the middle, you'd say fair enough.
It was just a lapse in concentration, probably a lack of experience as well. This is the second game for Burnley where they've conceded a silly penalty in the last minute. And I think it's just a lack of experience in those moments. Because you saw his face right after.
Well, that was what I was going to say. It was sort of exemplified by the reaction of the players. Hannibal he was going, oh no, like what have I done? And the players around him were going, what have you done? And let's touch on Liverpool, really. Not a great performance. Arguably the best thing about their performance was that lovely green away kit that they were wearing.
Oh.
Which is delightful.
Isn't it stunning?
We're going to move off that, though.
Why? Let's spend a little more time.
What went wrong for Liverpool in this game?
I think they just kind of ran out of ideas. They put 44 crosses in this game. The penalty came from the 44th cross of the game.
Right.
And I think they couldn't get through the defence. And there's still a lot of gelling to do. I think you're looking at someone like Wirtz, who is clearly a very talented player. But in that kind of game, he's a luxury player, isn't he? Like, he is a nice to have, I think, and he didn't really do much to unlock that defence.
Bring back James Milner.
I guess so. Or Jordan Henderson.
Or Jordan Henderson, absolutely. We'll touch on Jordan Henderson in a bit. Let's move on to Arsenal. Winning 3-0 against Nottingham Forest. Obviously, there was a lot of narrative to this game with Ange coming back into Premier League management almost as quickly as he left, immediately going to face Spurs' rivals.
I think this is actually the perfect time to play Ange Postecoglou's Forest, because he's going to play with a high line. He loves pushing his defence up to the halfway line. I think if you play Nuno's Forest, he was actually very good at setting a team up against a big team, particularly away. It's a completely different game if Nuno's in charge. But Ange just loves not defending. Your Arsenal's wingers, who were the highlight of this game, you're having a field day there, because Gyökeres's goal is a ball over the top. Eze does fantastically on the wing, sets him up for the goal. That doesn't happen against a team that is set up to defend well.
Absolutely, and you're right. And Eze and Madueke were very much the stars of this one. What do you think, Anthony, about Ange going to Forest?
I feel like Nuno Espirito Santo has played a blinder here because Forest was starting to get found out a little bit at the end of last season. He's restored his reputation. He's left for non-footballing reasons, and they brought in a guy who is not going to get anything out of this team, I think, because he's completely opposed to the way they've been playing before. So it feels like it's got just like explosion written all over it.
Well, that's it. And now I was a big fan of Ange at Spurs, but to me, it does feel like 9 months and I think there'll be a big bust up on the pitch between him and the chairman.
I think it's inevitable, isn't it? I think from Ange's point of view, you need a bit more time. It doesn't feel like he's been away, because he's essentially missed 3 games, and he's back in the Premier League.
Did he even have an appearance on Monday Night Football channel?
He didn't even get that.
Oh, dear.
And he was interviewed at the end of Match of the Day by Jonathan Pearce, who said, "Oh, you look well rested and tanned." And no, he doesn't.
Yeah, and he was very much in that sort of remit of a bit like Pep last season, in that you could start to see the toll it was taking on him. Like, he was clearly getting quite stressed out and irate with journalists and stuff. But the team that he left, Tottenham, winning 3-0 away at West Ham. Let's start with West Ham. It is not looking good for Graham Potter, is it? It was not just the result, just the manner of the performance.
Yeah, their heads just drop massively. They don't have a mentality. That first goal goes in, you just think, where's the comeback coming from? You're looking at Jared Bowen as someone to grab them by the scruff of the neck, and he's not able to, because the morale of this team is just so low right now.
And I think particularly, I saw his post-match interview, Graham Potter, and he sort of said, well, we went 1-0 down, and then there was the Souček red card, and then you sort of blink and it's 3-0, and you're like, well, that's not good enough. Like, you can't just fall apart in games like that. Did you see the red card, Joe?
I'm so shocked that Souček's only ever been sent off twice. And the first time it was rescinded, because this felt like the most Thomas Souček thing you've ever seen. Just legs everywhere.
It was one of those ones where you're sort of thinking, like, you watch it in real time, and it maybe didn't look that bad, and then you sort of you see the player holding up his sock that's just now got this massive gash through it.
It just seemed to take so long for the challenge to happen, because it just happened in slow motion. It was a Stonewall red card.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on to Spurs, though. Looking quite good in this game. Obviously, still early days under Thomas Frank, but very encouraging signs, isn't it?
I think a really exciting time for Tottenham. Actually, he's got them set up a lot better than they were last year, and actually he's got a real focus on set pieces. They've scored a lot of goals from corners and long throws, which everyone seems to be loving. Long throws again,
in vogue, very much.
Yeah, which we love. They just look really exciting going forward. They've got Xavi Simons on the left wing. He was quoted saying he's dreamed of playing here for a long time. I don't know if that's Spurs or England, because I can't see him as a Spurs fan. I don't know.
It's quite a nice stadium to be fair.
It's a lovely stadium to play
Lovely
in.
Hospitality, I'm told.
Yeah, but they have Simons, they have Kudus on the right wing, some really exciting attackers, and their midfield as well looked really good in this game. They've got João Palhinha, and Lucas Bergvall had a really good game.
The thing that's striking me about the way that Thomas Frank likes to set up his teams is that there's no focus on one specific player or two, superstars or whatever it may be. Certainly, under Brentford, it was very much a team game. They were playing as a collective. And I think Spurs in the past have, they've obviously lent on the likes of Kane and Son Heung-min, and actually to sort of not have this real clear talisman, I think, is just sort of testament to the kind of team he wants to build.
And also the fact that he's not just gone into Tottenham and try to replicate what he did at Brentford. It could be so easy for him to come in and go, oh, look, this is what really worked there. Even look at some of the players. I know he did try for Mbumo, but he could have brought a couple of players in and tried to replicate that, but he's not done that. He's taken a look at the pool of players that he has, and he's gone, okay, this is going to work, this is what we'll do, and it seems to be working.
What do we think, moving on to his former team, Brentford, getting a really good, solid point against Chelsea this weekend?
Yeah, massive. I think a lot of people, us included, were quite down on Brentford this season, losing a lot of big players and not really sure what they're going to do. Signing Jordan Henderson, was that a good move? Turns out, yes.
An absolutely incredible pass.
Really good pass.
Yeah,
actually.
Sort of Gerrard-esque, wasn't it?
Yeah, whisper it quietly. I think he played really well in this game. Jordan Henderson felt like a player that was brought in as a leader, maybe not necessarily starting games, but he started this one. He's very good on the ball. I think that goes under the radar with Henderson. He's very good at picking passes. He's very good at kind of covering as well defensively and making himself available. But his vision as well is really good. Really good pass for this goal. And I think he's actually going to turn out to be quite an important player for them.
And I just think that the thing that Henderson always brought was solidity. And, when you're looking at a team that may or may not be looking over their shoulder at the end of the season, you just think, well, actually, yeah, we could really do with somebody to rely on. And Jordan Henderson is very much that kind of player. What did you think about Chelsea in this one?
Yeah, the thing with Chelsea is they're still trying to work out their best team, which I feel like we've said for the last few seasons. They seem to make some progress and then sell half their team and buy 8 wingers.
Yeah.
And then we're just trying to work out what they're doing. In this game, he played a 3-4-3 diamond, which I've never seen before. They showed it on Match of the Day, and it was the most narrow formation you've seen. And I just can't quite work out what they're going for. Obviously, they've missed Palmer at the start of the season, and he came on, made a big difference, got his goal.
Showed a lot of really good signs, didn't he, Palmer, of being, possibly on the way back to his best.
Yeah, I think so. And look, there's encouraging signs. I just think no one knows who their best team is. You see a new face in the starting 11 every week, and I don't know.
And Anthony, question for you just on the Premier League generally. We're sort of now 4 game weeks in. It has been one of those odd seasons where no one is sort of, maybe bar Liverpool. Nobody's really running away with it. Nobody is really sort of cast adrift at the bottom. Usually, even by this point, you're kind of going, well, they'll be down there, they'll be up there. But there's actually quite a lot of unknowns about this, just 4 weeks in, isn't there?
Yeah, I feel like it was the same as last season, though. Like, apart from Liverpool basically just winning, even though they didn't look that great a lot of the time. All of the teams in the middle of the pack were kind of just beating each other and beating even top 4 teams. And I feel like that's just carried on this year. Like, there's just so many games, like we say West Ham looked terrible, but then they went and got a result a few weeks ago. And like, there have been games where United have looked amazing. There have been games where United have looked terrible. There have been games where Spurs have looked amazing. There have been games where Spurs have looked terrible. Same for Manchester City. Like,
a lot of inconsistency.
Yeah. And I think it's partly because a lot of the squad ages are going down, and you tend to find with younger players that they're much more inconsistent. Like, their decision making isn't quite there yet. They don't have the patterns of play, and it just means you get these chaotic games where they'll have a moment of magic and then just do something crazy, like not track back, like Garnacho did in this game.
And we probably still expect them to perform like someone in their mid-20s would. We put expectations on these young players to be consistent, and yeah, I think it's a really interesting point. I also think it just seems really competitive. Last season felt a little bit like there was times that everyone was winning, but was the quality of the league actually that good, apart from Liverpool? Whereas I think this year the quality has gone up. The squad depth has gone up. You're looking at someone like Arsenal who've really focused on their squad depth, and you can tell the difference it's made. And actually, I think right now Arsenal looks stronger than Liverpool. We'll
keep an eye on this as it develops. But this is the most, I think the blockbuster game of the weekend, which we'll come on to, was the Manchester Derby.
Manchester Derby,
absolutely. Yes. Manchester City 3, Man United 0. Anthony, just because you're here, what were your initial reactions to the game?
I wasn't surprised that United lost.
That's sort of just your general default, isn't it, really, at the moment?
Like, it's a standard United display at the moment is that you'll have moments where they look really, really great and probably still end up losing.
Yeah.
When I heard that Mount and Cunha were not going to be in this game, the expectation was, oh, well, we're going to lose then.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what you're talking about a bit with Brentford, of that stability and I would say resiliency of, like, that's one thing that United don't have, that once they go behind, you just know that they're not going to be able to claw it back at the moment.
There's so much change going on in terms of players in certain positions, and I just think you're right. United don't have a solid base from which they can build. Let's start with Man City though, Joe. They won this without really getting out of second gear, didn't they?
Yeah, they didn't have to be on top form really. I think Haaland looked back to his best, actually. I think he was a big part of why they didn't need to. He did a lot of work up at the top. Doku as well looked really good. But it wasn't a well-rounded performance. It was kind of moments. So that Doku moment set up that first goal.
if you're sort of saying, oh, well, City did win, at a canter, Haaland really looked up for this one, didn't he? From moment one.
Yeah, I think you forget how powerful he is and how fast and strong he is. You think of why they brought Haaland in. It was probably to be a finisher. And we didn't see that last year. We didn't see his all-round play. He still got quite a few goals. But in this game, you see how good he is from deep, charging at a defence. That pace he's got, we didn't see last year. But in this game, it's really evident how much that helped.
That second goal, where he just completely outmuscled Luke Shaw, and for a little chip over the goalkeeper, it was a really stunning goal. But let's come on to Man United. There's a real sense that as we've said, that they're struggling in terms of like their foundation. Luke Shaw for me just doesn't look like a centre back at all. I think that's quite a big thing, and Fernandes as well, playing as a central midfielder rather than further up as a 10. You've got sort of quite crucial positions where, for me, it just looks like United don't have the right players in those key slots.
Yeah, I think the mistake for this game was the team selection was for a game where you would expect to be in control.
Yeah. Like,
Fernandes can play as an 8 if you're in control and you've got the 70% of the ball. Luke Shaw is really good as a progressive passer from defence, but he's not got the legs, he's not got the ability to do the strong defending anymore. So if you've got someone like Haaland who's targeting him, and someone like Maguire next to him, especially when he came on, just who doesn't have the pace to cover for him, it's just going to fall apart.
And United just made it so easy for City to play through them. We spoke about the goals and those moments. There just wasn't sort of any sort of sense of rigidity in that midfield either.
No, I think Ugarte had a really bad game. I think they're still trying to work out who that midfield 2 is. I do think Bruno works there if he's got the right partner with him. I think last season we saw him in the 8 role, and when they got it right, he was really effective going forward. But it is that solidity. I think they should have really strengthened there over the summer. They're in for Baleba, which I think would have been a really good signing. But you're right, it's the spine. It doesn't look strong. As good as Luke Shaw could be as a centre-back, that's not sustainable, both because of his injury record and the fact he's not a centre-back.
I'm going to ask both of you the same question because I'm lazy. Is Amorim's stubbornness costing Man United? Because there's been a lot of conversation around the fact that ultimately Amorim has a very specific way of wanting to play. That is not unusual. Lots of managers do have their philosophy. But that for him, it is so narrow that he wants to basically shoehorn the players that he's got into a system that won't work, and that he's struggling to move beyond that. There's a struggle for a plan B. Joe, I'll start with you. Do you think Amorim's stubbornness is costing United at the moment?
Before the summer, I wouldn't have called it stubbornness, because you would always say a manager that has his system, you need to give them a transfer window, you need to back them. And
which United did.
They did. They were willing to back him. So before the summer, I don't think he was being stubborn. He had his system that he knows works. It worked well at Sporting. And all that time you're thinking, once he's had this transfer window, we'll be fine. We've had the transfer window really strengthened up top, but again, not bought players for the system. Even Mbumo isn't a number 10. He was a winger at Brentford. And although that 10 is more of a winger, you have to start to think that actually, if he's unable to adapt to a different formation and system, like how often do we see a manager persist with their system and eventually it becomes a success to this extreme? You think of managers, which we'll come on to, managers like Ange, managers like Russell Martin, famously over the last couple of years, a manager who has a system, is unwilling to move from it, is not successful.
So, Anthony, I'm going to ask you the exact same question. Amorim, is his stubbornness costing United at the moment?
Well, I would counter that arguably Pep Guardiola has a system that he sticks to for long, long periods of times.
But the difference with that is he changes a formation.
Yeah.
Like, he recently moved towards that 3-4-1, whatever it was. He had that 3-2-4-1, which he has his formations, he has his systems, but he moves them around. Whereas I can't see Amorim doing that.
Yeah, I think what's frustrating for United at the moment is, like I said before, there are times when it looks really, really good, when it clicks and it looks amazing. Like especially the front three of Mount, Cunha and Mbeumo, like the fluidity between them, the movement, the understanding that was seeming to click really well. Like that looked really good, but you can't have Bruno in a midfield behind those front three in most games because he can't do the defensive side of that midfield role. So it's it is a little bit of a case of fitting round pegs into square holes.
Joe, and I'm going to counter you here as well. You just said that you wouldn't have said he was stubborn before the summer. Well, we're only 4 games in. Maybe we do just need to give him time, and maybe it will sort itself out. Like Anthony said, Pep is somebody who's a good example of somebody who has very much his philosophy and is stuck with it, even when it looked like it's not working.
But I think you can have your philosophy across different formations. I think the problem here is the formation, not the way he wants to play football. I think you can still have that style of play with a different formation, which is what Pep has shown.
And just to counter my own point, Pep is in the greatest position he can be when he joins and sets up his system.
Yeah.
So like Barcelona, he had it all ready made for him. Bayern Munich, he was in a dominant league where even though his system didn't work perfectly, it still won him the league. And Man City was set up for him like 3 years in advance, 4 years in advance for him to just walk into. So in that situation, a system works really well. What Amorim's come into in Man United is a club in complete transitions, just had a board takeover. Everyone knows the first year or two after a board takeover is crazy bananas. And he's trying to implement something which just, you can't do that in that situation.
Yeah, and I feel for him because I think that speaks to the succession plan of United rather than what he's doing. That they, like you say with Pep, City knew, okay, we're going to get Pep in 3 years' time. What do we need to do right now to build towards that? Maybe United need to look at doing that.
And look, we don't want to turn this into being critical of Ruben Amorim, but I think it is fair to say that actually a good manager needs to be able to adapt. You often hear, how often do you hear, of a player? Let me start again. How often do you hear of a manager who puts a side out and they have an awful 45 minutes, and then the manager will make a big change, maybe bring a couple of players off, change the formation, and it completely changes the game, and it can do that in the blink of an eye. And supporters, the media are very quick to praise managers like that are good at adapting.
And I think he has shown some signs of it. I think his in-game changes are actually okay. I think he brought Mainu on and looked all right yesterday. He's also been known to throw Maguire up front, which is the most flexible move you could make.
It's the most insane decision you can make.
But you have to say it's worked.
If it works, it works. Yeah, absolutely. I always think it brings back to Arsene Wenger. He was another sort of classic manager that had his philosophy, and I think that ended badly for him. One of the greatest managers the game has ever seen, and yet that ended badly for him in terms of there was however many years of him prioritizing his philosophy over actually winning stuff. That's where it will become detrimental. Is where the manager says, no, this is how I'm going to play, regardless of the short term outcome.
Yeah, I think a really prominent recent example of this is Russell Martin, that we've spoken about before. When he came into Southampton, he had his philosophy. He wanted to play out the back. It worked in the Championship, and he tried this in the Premier League, and it really didn't work. We could all see from week one, this is not going to work. You need to adapt. Similar to Vincent Kompany at Burnley the year before. And I think as a fan of a club who has a manager like that, if you're a Southampton fan, you're like, are you using this to better your chances of getting a big job?
Yeah.
Which he now has at Rangers. That is a bigger job.
Similar to Kompany.
Yeah, exactly. Are you using this platform to implement your philosophy so that you get looked at by bigger clubs to come in and take you? Or are you implementing a system here to help the club survive? And I think you can question that with some of these managers.
How do you think that being stubborn or not being stubborn, I don't know, what would you say the opposite of being stubborn is? Being humble?
I think so. I think if you dig down into it, it is humility.
Yeah.
I think stubbornness is the refusal to listen to other people, right? And in our context, maybe it's the refusal to listen to God.
Yeah.
And it's almost that recognition that actually my ways are better than your ways. And the opposite of that is I'm going to humble myself and I'm going to be guided by God in what he wants me to do.
Do we think Amorim is, I was going to say, is he's listening to God? Do we think Amorim is listening to people around him? Are the people around him telling him, what he wants to hear? Or are they telling him, maybe we should change that? They're the kind of big questions. And are we willing to listen to that advice?
Well, yeah, it is a big question. You have to think that actually he's brought his people in to this club. Now, are those people telling him what he wants to hear because they want him to take him wherever he goes? Or are they being like, actually, this isn't working?
Looking in Scripture, it does tell us in Exodus 7, this is the big story, the Moses story, and all the plagues, the big one, and the plagues and all that. It tells us that Pharaoh's heart was hardened and stubborn, and he refused to listen to God. And equally, in James 4, it says that God opposes the proud but shows favour to the humble. And I think there's not just the, God tells you to not be stubborn, God tells you to be humble. Actually, there's just the whole thing of actually, this is just a wise way to live, is to yes, listen to God, but actually listen to the advice of people around you as well. Anthony, do you think there's sort of times where it's maybe easier to be humble or it's easier to be stubborn in certain situations?
I think no one really likes to admit when they're wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big things you always have to remember is being able to soberly look at your own life and say, yeah, I messed up there. That takes a lot of humility just to start off with. I think sometimes it just takes time though, of the further back something is, the more you can realise, oh, this is something I messed up.
And so here's the thing, coming back to Man United, if the board decided that they decided that Anorim wasn't working, that's a big thing for them. Do they swallow their pride and go, okay, we need to move on to another manager? Or do we stick with it because they want to save face? A lot of, when we're talking about pride and humility and stubbornness, a lot of it is to do with a saving face, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, Anthony, as a United fan, if an owner comes out and says, oh, we got this wrong, actually, I'd imagine you'd have more respect for that than if they kind of cover it up, right?
Yeah, definitely. Even on Sunday, Amorim came out and said he couldn't fault the players, it was his fault this time. And you have a little bit more respect for that.
Massively.
It's kind of gaining a little bit less though because it's happened many, many times.
Sure.
So he can come out and say, oh yes, it's my fault. But if he later says, as he did, but I'm not going to change anything about what I'm doing, then you're that's a sticking point because you're saying, well, you're in the wrong, but you're then not willing to change. That's a problem. That's not showing that humility.
And that's almost different to what you saw under Ten Hag, who would never admit that he was wrong, right? He'd be like, I thought we were the best team.
Yeah.
And he would never admit that. And you're almost like, oh, I just want you to come out and say that was a bad decision. And I think about if we apply this to our everyday lives, maybe in our churches, our communities, if you have a leader that's willing to admit that they're wrong, you probably trust them more, right? I think I'd want my leaders to have the humility to say, actually, we made this decision and it didn't work. We hold our hands up and we're now going to seek God's guidance on this situation.
What is the difference, Joe, do you think, between being stubborn and actually just sticking to your guns? Because there's something in this about having your principles, isn't there? And if you've decided in whatever area of your life it is that I have my principles and I will not budge from them, that's kind of seen as broadly quite a good thing.
And if we're looking at this in a Christian perspective, I think you can have your principles, your ways of doing things, but it comes down to that thing of people around you. Are you talking to people around you? Are you testing your principles against the Bible? Are you testing your principles in your conversations with God, if they line up with what God is saying to you, absolutely stick to your principles and stick to your guns. If actually you're starting to notice, maybe this isn't the right thing, maybe people around me that I trust are telling me this isn't a good thing, maybe I need to start listening to them.
There's very much scripture that backs up the idea of, taking on wise counsel from others, and there's scripture equally that talks about not being swayed by the crowd. So I think it's holding all of that in tension, isn't it? Well, hopefully this has been a really great conversation, and hopefully we can all just be a little more humble and a little less stubborn in our daily lives.
That would be lovely.
Well, this has been a really great chat, Joe.
It has. I've really enjoyed it.
And having Anthony here on the mic has been a real treat. Have you enjoyed it?
Yes, it's been a lot of fun.
And there's a specific reason, Joe, that we've brought Anthony in, and it's to share a little bit of sad news.
Yeah.
That sadly, Anthony is going to be leaving the big man up top team and UCB, and we are absolutely devastated, but we are so excited for your journey and for your the things that God's got in store for you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're off to?
Yeah, well, my wife is from Singapore. She's not British. She came to the UK about 10 years ago, and we made the decision recently that it would be good for us to go to Singapore to be closer to her family. She's been really accommodating and been close to my family for so long now that felt it was time to return the favour.
Absolutely. Listen, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
But we're so grateful for all that you've done on the big man up top. For the listeners who don't know, even though Anthony is less on the mic than Joe and I, he is very much an equal part of this team and makes us sound fantastic most weeks.
Yeah, and I think you really caught the vision of the podcast from day one. I remember you it might have even been on your first day. You sat us both in a room and you said, okay, sell me the podcast. And me and Ed both panicked and were like, what do we say here? And we did it, and you were like, yeah, I'm on board. And this podcast wouldn't be what it is without you. And we really appreciate what you put into it.
Right.
So thank you very much, and all the best. And we're gonna pray just as you leave, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you,
Joe. Would you kick us off in prayer?
Yes, of course. Yeah, Lord, thank you for Anthony. Thank you for how you brought him to us for such a time as this, and that your timing has been perfect amongst all this. Thank you for the way that he has caught the vision of this podcast, and for how he wanted to use his skills for your glory, and his passion for football and for faith to glorify you. And we just pray as he continues his journey with you and whatever's next for him in terms of his career, that you'll be there alongside him and his wife in this new transition, Father.
Yeah, God, we're just very grateful for all that he's given us and everything that he's brought to the table in his time here. And we just pray for the smoothness of all the logistics, all the things that come along with moving to another country, and just pray that you'll go with him as he carries on his adventure with you. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And the big question is, do you have a local Singaporean team?
So my brother-in-law's company sponsors a team in Singapore.
There you go.
Really?
So I can't remember the name of them right now, but that's going to be the team I follow.
Well, you can definitely continue to be our East Asian football correspondent,
yes.
if that sounds good. And please, I know the listeners will be keen to send messages, so please send us an email, podcast@ucb.co.uk. If you've got a message for Anthony, ping that across and I'll make sure he gets them.
And also for future episodes, I'm sure I'll still be in the YouTube chat alongside Marty. So, yeah.
Definitely get involved.
Well, there's only one fitting way to see Anthony's big man up top career out. It is Bible Ballers.
Yes,
Anthony,
it is.
do you want to read us the question one last time?
Yes, I will do. Belgian double Bible baller Jean-Marc Bosman was involved in perhaps the most important transfer in football history when he tried to move from RFC Liège to Dunkirk on a free transfer at the end of his contract. The trial took 5 years, but free transfers were officially allowed in what year? So you've both written down an answer, is that correct?
I do.
Yeah, I've
I
got
have one right here.
I've got one.
We can be sure that you're not going to be cheating.
No
and just
cheating.
doing one more or less than the other person.
I can turn it around.
I'll reveal first.
Yeah, go for it.
I've gone for 1991.
Ooh, I've gone for 1998.
Oh, goodness, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm very excited to hear what this is.
So, I can say that neither of you got it exactly right.
Yeah.
There was a comment Ed made earlier about it being later than you think. The correct answer was 1995.
Ooh,
which means Joe is just closer.
He's clinched it. You know what?
Goodness.
I nearly put 1993, which I still will have got it.
I put 92 and I changed it.
But your comment made me go later.
Oh, dearie me. Oh, well, listen. Fair play. Fair play. Anthony, thank you for a fantastic final Bible Ballers question. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for listening to The Big Man Up Top. If you want to get in touch with the show, please ping us an email to podcast@ucb.co.uk. Please follow, subscribe, give us good reviews, because this will help us get the word out to people who haven't heard of the podcast. Also, if you've enjoyed this, please tell your mates. And also a huge thank you to our producer, Anthony, not just for this episode, but for all the preceding episodes.
You're going to have to find a new one now, Joe.
Yeah, you can do that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
We're not going to top this one.
Yeah, all right.
Well, thank you so much for all your hard work behind the scenes, Anthony. And there will hopefully be a new episode next Tuesday, Ed, if we can find a producer.
If we can figure it out. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
See you later, Joe.
Bye.